Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, October 9th, 2018. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. Now, the ES is testing the 78 half key level. Again, I'm going to tell you where I got that key level from. Basically, it is the high from this year. So if we go back to the beginning of the year here, let's grab the pen. There it is. There's the high, 28.78 half. You can see the major sell-off that we had to this low right here. That low was 25.29, and from that low, that morning, we knew that we had a high likelihood that we were going to reach the 27.0375 midpoint of that range, and that gave us a key range to watch. That now gives us key levels inside the range and extensions outside the range. I've talked about this pattern right here where we've basically held above the top of the key range here, forming a box. But if price cannot hold above that top of the range for long, we could see a sell-off all the way back to the midpoint of that range, 27.03 half, that recent pivot low, with a high likelihood of hitting the 27.91 inside 25 level. So those are the two major targets that could be hit if price cannot maintain acceptance above 28.78 half. Now, I have mentioned that we could get lower than that level because of the sell-off into the previous month's low. That's the 28.65s. So again, we are below 78 half now. We could still see lower lows, even as low as say 28.50. But at some point here, price has to be able to pop back above and continue back toward recent highs, if not through those highs. We've seen a pattern here of big high range days down, big high range day down, big high range day down, and we've seen some buying pressure off the lower ends of those ranges, but quite frankly it hasn't looked like true rejection. It looks like there's more downside to be seen. Currently we are below the midpoint of the previous session's range. That alone right now, if price cannot reestablish acceptance back above that level, which is basically 28.82s, that would suggest more downside to new lows again, perhaps into 28.60. So again, we could have much more downside here before we hit the previous month's low. At some point here, if we do hit prices below this low, this is a great spot to look for a return back toward 29.27 half. But again, we got to find that true rejection. We're not quite there yet. Here's a look at the NQ. You'll see right here the NQ also looks quite bearish and continues to hold below its midpoint as well. More downside likely in this case as well. So you're seeing just mostly price hold below the midpoints of the previous session's ranges. That's a downtrending market. And again, today you're seeing a failure to hold above the previous month's low. And so that's important right now. We have an outside month here where we have this rejection. It took us all the way to this low. We noted that we can get as low as 73 half, 73.50 here, and that could be an opportunity to watch for signs of rejection and then a return back to the 76.30 level and previous close. That would be the FOMC key level. So remember, when you have an FOMC key level like this, the first major move is a significant move, but whenever we find true rejection, high odds that we come right back to the level. And again, whenever you have an uptrending market here and you take out some recent lows like we're doing right now, again, it entices bulls to come in and defend and push this thing back up. So right now, we may not be done with the downside action. More selling pressure could be seen. How much lower do we go? Do we test the recent pivot low here at around 71.75? Do we get into 72s and start to find some strength? Overall, it needs to start finding strength soon. In order to get that quick bounce back toward the mid. Otherwise, this thing could really start to fall down a little bit more. So we'll continue to watch this one here. But strength starts to really be seen above the 7400s again. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. Now, I mentioned before that crude oil remains very bullish, but there is a level here that could lead to a major dose of weakness here, and it's 75s. We talked about this level yesterday. Currently, it's the high of the day, 75.02. You can see 75s here that comes across. You can see previous highs. Price pushed above those highs and failed back below. And right now, it's coming back to retest 75 from below. And if bears are able to keep that area offered after rejection, that could easily lead to a move below recent lows and likely opens up a move back toward the FOMC key level as well. That's 71.49. So that could be the short-term push lower. So that doesn't mean we have to really fall apart and go down. We could, because again, when you're at the top of a key range and you reject, high odds you come back to the midpoint. That's 69.34. And then you have the potential to even go across the range as well to the opposite edge. That's 63.41. So right now, 75 is the big level to watch here. At the moment, price is forming a box above the previous session's high after hitting 75. If there's any failure to hold the previous session's high, that could be a failed new high in a down move, and that could lead to a push into 72s on a short-term basis, followed by a continuation even lower. So keep an eye on crude oil. All right, let's take a look over here at Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now, again, shifted value downward. It has gotten extremely tight. So what I wanted to do with this moment here is actually bring up a 10 period average here that shows the range over the last 10 periods and shows how it quantifies it down here, shows how compressed it has become over the last 10 periods. So you can see the volatility, and this is volatility after all of this craziness. So this is just normal recent volatility over the last few months, and look how compressed it has become. You can see right here, price compressing like that. Here's value. You can see the price range also compressing. This is significant right now, because usually what happens when it gets too small like that, you see a big pop back up. A 2,000 point range could be ahead, because that's just normal when volatility increases. And so right now we have an abnormal compression, and if we get a normal breakout or dose of volatility, it could be about 2,000 points of range over a 10-day period. And so 2,000 points of range, say this thing breaks above 6,700, does that mean we go to 8,700, right? Retest this high perhaps. 6,500 to 8,500, right? So that could be about what happens here pretty soon, especially with the compression we have. We could even further compress this by saying, hey, let's go to a 20 period look back here, and you can see again on a 20-day period recently, this thing still super compressed, even more so. And if we were to get a normal breakout here again, it would be, say, 2,700 points on a 20-day basis. So about 2,700 points, 25 to 2,700 points on a 20-day basis. So those are a couple of the quantified measurements that we have here that kind of helps us forecast what this range could be once we get expansion in Bitcoin. All right, that is it for now. Really quickly here, quick update here. If you go to pivotboss.com, again, you can go to the news section or search for webinar here. You can see webinar Profiting with Swing Trade Pro 2.0. I am hosting this webinar tomorrow evening, Wednesday, October 10th at 6 p.m. Central. All you have to do to join the webinar is click this link, and it will pop up the webinar right there for you. Again, 6 p.m. We are going to discuss how you could have profited from the recent sell-off in the NQ with Swing Trade Pro 2.0, as it was the very first blueprint and trade sequence that I teach in Swing Trade Pro. The move was incredible. It was a perfectly orchestrated move. Again, we talked about that move developing in the monthly outlook on Monday, October 1st. We're going to dissect that move, and then we're also going to talk about Swing Trade Pro 2.0. I'll give you a look behind the curtain to show you the training. I'll also answer any questions that you may have, and we'll also talk about next week's live trading event, which will begin from October 15th all the way through the 19th. All right, anyways, tomorrow, October 10th, please join me at this link right here. Again, that's going to get you in the webinar. And don't forget, Swing Trade Pro is officially launched. You can click the link for Swing Trade Pro 2 here as well and take advantage of that awesome offer. All right, that is it for now. Let's see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.